It's time for me to start another journey in Terraria, that being making an armor of each different class. So I'm gonna start making the meteorite armor for magic, and to do that I make all the colors and bend some aluminum foil and paper clips to make a basic armature. This armature is just the proper shape that I need to be and is going to give the build actual structure so that it doesn't just fall apart. Then I cover the middle in some clay to make it so that I can actually bend the thing more precisely. And then I cover the legs in a very dark, deep navy blue. Well, purplish blue, I guess. And then blend it into that little body that I added for stability. Then I bulk up the midsection in order to make it look more like legs and not like, well, more like a bottom half and not like legs. And then I bulk up the foot area. Once I have that, I blend everything together and start poking out some shoes. Once I get the shoes shaped out on both feet, I can then shape out the knees. The knees are just knees. And then I make a bunch of indents around the ankles, the knees, and the upper thigh. These would be in the real world if this was an actual piece of armor, so that the person inside of it could move, because this is made out of metal. Once I have all of these bends done, well, that's pretty much the legs finished for the entire thing, except for a little pizzazz. I have three different versions of orange right in that background, that being an orange, an amber, and a vermilion color, and I'm going to start by placing orange in the middle, and then on that, a little stripe of vermilion. Vermilion being red-orange in this case. And once that's done, that is the legs done for pretty much everything. And then I can cover the torso in some extra clay. Then I bulk up, once the entire torso is bulked up very slightly and made to have an actual, like, shirt line of armor, I can bulk up the upper area, but not quite yet because I'm still blending. And right here is where I bulk up the biceps, and even though I added them in two separate circles here, they do eventually just become one, so if you were to do this project yourself for some reason, just do one larger piece. Once this is all blended together and blended into the body, I add some of the vermilion onto the bottom part of the bicep, and just start adding a bunch of colors. I add some more of the vermilion to add as a little like zipper thingy on the front, and then some orange in a triangle on the bottom to make it look slightly better. Then some more orange semicircles and after that a little wing of amber right in the middle to connect the two. Once I have all of these done, I add a little crease between the biceps and then some more vermilion across the back for a small design on the back, with it just being two semicircles of orange, and then a little dot of amber in the middle. Once these are done, I shape out the arms into the shape that I want them to be, that being two hands holding onto the space gun. These get cut to the proper size, and then I start to add some clay to them. I start by adding a worm of clay on top of the armature just to cover it in something, and then I bulk up the bicep. The bicep area gets blended in so that there's no seam at all, just so that I can have one solid arm until I start deciding not to. Once I blend this bicep together, I add some clay to the forearm, and then the shoulder. These all get blended in so that there's no visible seam, but there's still bumps and waves. And then I add a seam onto the elbow. This is the only seam that's actually going to be there, since the wrist is just going to be there automatically. Although also on the edge of the shoulder. Also, I do the exact same thing to the other arm, except I just elongated the forearm because that's the only way that I could find it to fit and hold the space gun. So again, I add the arm, then the bicep, then the forearm, and then the shoulder. These all get blended in without connecting them to the upper body, and then a little indent is added around the elbow in order to make this actually flexible if it was real armor. After this, I add some amber in a semicircle onto the front part of the elbow, shoulder, and then some darker orange, then some vermilion on the backside, mirroring it, and then orange triangle in the middle. And now I make the space gun, which is just a ball of the dark bluish clay with a little bit of lighter blue, then the little fin on the back and opening in the front for the blaster later. And then I add a handle out of some gray, and following that, a trigger. After I have that, I add a barrel out of the same dark gray, and then surround it with 3 worms of the orange clay. One directly connecting between the blue and the gray, one in the middle, and then one towards the front, but not all the way in the front. And then once I have those 3, I can add some yellow and orange dots. Once I have all those dots, all that's left to attach it is to make some hands, which in the Terraria ones I don't add fingers, and then push them into the forearms. Once I have both of the hands shaped out properly within the forearms, I can place both of them into the handle of the space gun and just make sure that it looks okay. And after I have that, I make the little goggles on the helmet. The helmet has some very bluish goggles, so I get those baked to make sure that I can press them into the dome head like a stormtrooper I have right here. And of course you can see now I push them in and make sure that it looks right. Then I bulk out the bottom of the mouth area to just have more mouth area. And then I added a nose. The nose is just a small chunk of clay that gets blended in. And then I just add some orange, vermilion, and amber all across the bottom part of the face, since that's pretty much just the entire face structure is done. I start with some orange, then some amber, and then I go to the vermilion. Once I have all of these colors on the bottom made, I can start to work my way towards the top, starting with the back part of the helmet, and then a small little orange triangle amber triangle on the top, with orange surrounding it. Then I add some vermilion connecting the back of the triangle and the back of the head, except not yet because I make the little fin pointy thingies. These are just 2 cones on the head that are kind of like ears, and here's where I add the vermilion stripe. And then there's only a few more things, adding some orange semicircles and then placing it on the back of the head. And then since I felt like it was missing something, I added some what is that? What color is that? Yeah, probably amber. Around the rest of the little fin thingies. After I had that, all I had left to do was a base, and since I had made one out of the crimson or corruption, I decided just to do the crimson since I thought it would look better. This gets pushed into the base, baked, and it's done. If you enjoy the video, make sure to give it a like. If you want to see more videos like it, subscribe. There are plenty at this point. And if you want to see something specific in the future, make sure to leave it in a comment below. I might actually do it.